The Deep Space Monitoring Station in Nevada lit up like a Christmas tree at exactly 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. The night shift operator nearly spilled his coffee as dozens of red warning lights flashed across his screen. What he saw made his hands shake. Massive energy readings, unlike anything ever recorded, were appearing at the edge of the solar system. Within minutes, Admiral Thomas Reed's secure phone buzzed on his bedside table. The aging military commander had waited 30 years for this call. He didn't even need to check the message. He knew what it meant. As he dressed in his uniform, his mind wandered to all the drills, all the preparations, and all the secrets humanity had kept for so long. Status report, Reed demanded as he walked into the Global Defense Command Center 2 hours later. The massive underground facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, hummed with activity. Hundreds of officers and analysts worked at their stations, their faces lit by the blue glow of their screens. "Sir, we've detected a fleet of approximately 300 vessels entering the solar system," reported Captain Lisa Moore, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "They're big, sir. The smallest one is about the size of Manhattan." Reed nodded, not showing any surprise. The predictions had been accurate. The Empire always arrived in force. He watched the main screen as it showed the fleet's approach, their energy signatures burning bright against the darkness of space. The first transmission arrived exactly when their models had predicted it would. The massive ships had just passed Jupiter's orbit when the signal reached Earth's communication arrays. The message was broadcast simultaneously on all frequencies, in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. This is Lord Marcus, Fleet Commander of the Galactic Imperial Forces. Your world has been chosen for integration into the greater Galactic Empire. Prepare for our arrival and subsequent evaluation of your civilization." The message continued with details about their peaceful intentions and the benefits of joining the Empire. But Reed had stopped listening. He was more interested in the data his scientists were collecting from the transmission. Energy signatures, technological markers, and most importantly, weaknesses. "Sir," Captain Moore called out, "we're detecting their scan beams. They're mapping the planet." Reed allowed himself a small smile. The Empire would find exactly what humanity wanted them to find. A relatively primitive civilization, just beginning to reach for the stars. They would see the International Space Station, a few lunar bases, and some early Mars colonies. Nothing that would worry them. Nothing that would make them think twice about their plans. The real Earth, the one hidden beneath carefully crafted illusions and quantum camouflage, remained invisible. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Emily Walker watched the same data from her research facility. Her team had spent decades perfecting the planetary disguise technology. Now it was being put to its ultimate test. "All readings are normal," she reported through the secure quantum channel to Reed. "They're seeing exactly what we want them to see. Our shield network remains undetected." The Empire's ships took position around Earth's orbit, their massive hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Sleek vessels of impossible size, built by a civilization that had conquered thousands of worlds. "Send the response we prepared," Reed ordered, his voice calm. The message was simple, crafted to reinforce the Empire's assumptions about Earth's technological level. "This is the United Earth Government responding to your transmission. We are honored by your arrival and request time to inform our population and prepare for your evaluation." The response from Lord Marcus came quickly. "You have 72 Earth hours to prepare. We are sending an ambassador to begin the integration process. Do not attempt any hostile actions. They would be futile and would only result in unnecessary losses for your world." Reed watched the message replay on the main screen, noting the casual arrogance in the Imperial commander's tone. It was exactly what they had expected. The Empire had conquered so many worlds that they had become predictable in their superiority. "And so it begins," Reed muttered, looking around the command center at his crew. Every person in the room knew their part in what was to come. Humanity had prepared for this moment for generations, building their strength in secret, waiting for the day the Empire would finally notice Earth. The Empire thought they were the hunters. They didn't realize they had just walked into humanity's trap. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, past layers of security that officially didn't exist, Dr. Emily Walker stood before the World Council in a chamber larger than most sports stadiums. The room was carved directly into the bedrock, its walls lined with screens showing real-time data from Earth's hidden defense systems. 50 of the most powerful people on Earth sat before her, waiting to hear her assessment. The Empire's scans have failed to detect any of our advanced installations, she said, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. Our quantum camouflage systems are working perfectly. She pressed a button on her tablet, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing Earth's true defensive capabilities. Around the planet, invisible to Imperial scans, thousands of satellites waited in dimensional pockets, spaces that existed between normal spacetime. Each one carried weapons that could tear apart ships 100 times their size. But these were just the obvious defenses. For those who haven't visited this facility before, Dr. Walker continued, let me show you what humanity has really been working on for the past 50 years. She led the council members to a massive window overlooking an underground harbor larger than New York City. Below them, ships floated in anti-gravity docks, vessels that looked nothing like the primitive rockets the Empire had detected in orbit. These ships were built with technology that the Empire thought impossible. Dark matter engines, quantum-linked weapons, and gravity manipulation systems that could tear apart space itself. How many? Asked one of the council members, his voice barely a whisper. 5,000 combat-ready vessels in this facility alone, Dr. Walker answered, and similar numbers in facilities under the Pacific, the Sahara, and the Amazon. We've been busy. Admiral Reed, who had been quietly watching from the back of the room, stepped forward. The Empire thinks they're dealing with a Level 2 civilization, barely able to reach our own moon. In reality, we passed Level 5 capabilities 15 years ago. We just made sure nobody noticed. The screens around them showed feeds from Earth's deep space monitoring network, sensors that extended far beyond what the Empire knew was possible. They had watched the Empire's expansion for decades, learning their tactics, their weaknesses, and most importantly, their arrogance. The Imperial ships in orbit, Dr. Walker continued, are using 6th-generation quantum shielding. They think it's unbeatable. She smiled slightly. We developed countermeasures for it 12 years ago. Their fastest ships use dark energy drives. We've been using something better for 5 years. One of the council members stood up, an older woman with steel-gray hair. Show them what happens if they decide to attack one of our cities, she ordered. Dr. Walker nodded and pressed another button. The hologram changed to show a simulation of an Imperial attack. As the Empire's weapons fired, layers of defenses appeared around the target city. First, quantum shields absorbed the energy. Then, gravity wells redirected any physical projectiles into pocket dimensions. Finally, counterattack systems activated, sending weapons through spaces the Empire didn't even know existed. We've run this simulation 10,000 times, Admiral Reed said. Even if they brought their entire fleet, they couldn't break through our defenses. Not only that, but we could disable their entire attack force without destroying a single ship. The council members murmured among themselves, impressed but also concerned. One of them raised his hand. And you're certain they haven't detected any of this? Absolutely certain, Dr. Walker replied. Our quantum camouflage technology bends reality itself. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see. A promising but primitive world, perfect for conquest. When they try, they'll learn just how wrong they were. As if to emphasize her point, one of the massive ships in the underground harbor powered up its engines, casting a soft blue glow across the chamber. The Empire thought they were meeting sheep, but humanity had been wolves in sheep's clothing all along. They had turned their fear of alien invasion into preparation, their paranoia into progress. Now all they had to do was wait for the Empire to make its move. Earth was ready. It had been ready for a very long time. The Imperial shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, its silver hull gleaming in the morning sun. The world's media had gathered in Geneva to witness humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Empire. What they didn't know was that every camera, every phone, and every satellite watching the landing was also gathering critical data about Imperial technology. Ambassador James Black stood at the front of the shuttle as it landed. He was human, born on a world conquered by the Empire 3 centuries ago. The Empire often used humans from conquered worlds as ambassadors. They found it made the integration process smoother. Black smiled as he thought about how easy this assignment would be. Earth was just another primitive world, after all. He couldn't have been more wrong. Admiral Reed and Dr. Walker led Earth's delegation, along with representatives from major world governments. They had practiced their roles perfectly, looking impressed, but not overwhelmed by Imperial technology, showing just the right amount of nervous excitement. "Welcome to Earth," Admiral Reed said, extending his hand in greeting. "We're honored by your presence." His voice carried just the right touch of awe, masking the fact that he could have destroyed the shuttle with a single command to the hidden defense grid. Ambassador Black shook his hand, smiling confidently. "The honor is ours, Admiral. The Empire is always pleased to welcome new worlds into our fellowship." Behind him, 10 Imperial guards in gleaming armor formed an impressive display of power. Their weapons, considered advanced by most worlds, were laughably primitive compared to what lay hidden beneath Earth's surface. The delegation moved to the United Nations building, where the Empire would present its terms. Dr. Walker watched the Imperial guards carefully, her hidden sensors analyzing every piece of their technology. Each step they took, each gesture they made, revealed more about their capabilities. "The Empire offers Earth a generous opportunity," Ambassador Black announced to the assembled world leaders. "Join us willingly, and you'll receive access to Imperial technology, trade routes, and protection. Your people will be free to travel the stars." He paused for effect. The alternative would be less pleasant. To emphasize his point, a massive hologram appeared above the assembly, showing an Imperial dreadnought destroying an uninhabited moon in a distant system. The assembled leaders gasped appropriately, playing their parts perfectly. "We understand the Empire's power," Admiral Reed replied carefully, "but surely such demonstrations aren't necessary. Earth is interested in peaceful cooperation." Every word was calculated to reinforce the Empire's assumptions about Earth's technological level. Ambassador Black nodded approvingly. Of course. But the Empire believes in being clear about expectations. You have much to gain from joining us, but resistance." He let the threat hang in the air. As the negotiations continued, Dr. Walker's hidden quantum communicator buzzed silently. The analysis of Imperial technology was complete. Their weapons, their shields, their propulsion systems, everything was exactly as Earth's intelligence had predicted. In some areas, Earth had already surpassed them. "We'll need time to consider your generous offer," one of Earth's representatives said. "Our world has never faced a decision of this magnitude before." Ambassador Black smiled indulgently. "Of course, the Empire understands this is a significant step for developing worlds. You have 48 hours to make your decision." He stood, his guards moving in perfect formation behind him. "Choose wisely. The Empire can be a generous friend or a terrible enemy." As the Imperial delegation departed, Admiral Reed and Dr. Walker shared a knowing look. The Empire's arrogance was their greatest weakness. They were so convinced of their superiority that they never considered they might be walking into a trap. Back in their shuttle, Ambassador Black reviewed his notes. "Another simple integration," he told his staff. "They're practically begging to join the Empire." In the hidden command center beneath Geneva, Admiral Reed watched the shuttle depart. "They really have no idea, do they?" he asked. Dr. Walker shook her head. "No. And that's exactly how we want it. When they make their move, they'll learn just how badly they've underestimated Earth. The trap was set. Now they just had to wait for the Empire to spring it. The Empire's patience ran out exactly 46 hours after their initial meeting. Their massive ships moved into attack positions around Earth, their weapons charging with enough power to level continents. Lord Marcus stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the primitive planet with a mixture of boredom and contempt. "Send the final message," he ordered. On the screens before him, Earth's major cities lay helpless, or so he thought. Let's show them what happens to worlds that waste the Empire's time. In the Antarctic Command Center, Admiral Reed watched the Imperial fleet's movements with calm eyes. Every ship was exactly where Earth's strategic AI had predicted they would be. The Empire's tactics hadn't changed in centuries. They had become predictable in their success. "They're targeting major population centers," Captain Moore reported, her voice steady. "London, New York, Tokyo, Beijing, all in their sights." Dr. Walker stood beside Admiral Reed, her tablet showing real-time data from Earth's hidden defense systems. "All systems are ready," she said quietly. "The quantum shield grid is charged. Dimensional anchors are in place. We can shut down their entire fleet with a single command." Admiral Reed nodded and stepped forward. The time for pretense was over. "Open a channel to their flagship," he ordered. "Let's give them their warning." The Empire's final ultimatum was still echoing through Earth's communication channels when Admiral Reed's message cut through it. His voice was calm, almost gentle, but carried an authority that made even Lord Marcus pause. "This is Admiral Thomas Reed of Earth's Defense Command to the Imperial Fleet. You have entered restricted space and positioned weapons to target civilian populations. This is unacceptable." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You will withdraw your forces immediately. This is your only warning. We will not repeat ourselves." On the Imperial flagship's bridge, Lord Marcus laughed. The sound was quickly echoed by his officers. "They think they can threaten us?" he asked, amused. "Show them what happens to worlds that dare to challenge the Empire." The Imperial flagship's main weapon powered up, targeting New York City. The energy buildup was visible from space, a gathering storm of destructive power. Lord Marcus wanted to make an example of Earth's defiance. But something was wrong. "My lord," one of his officers called out, confusion in his voice. "The weapon, it won't fire." In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Walker allowed herself a small smile as she watched her systems work. Quantum fields had wrapped around every Imperial weapon, redirecting their energy safely into pocket dimensions. The Empire's mighty fleet had just been neutered without a single shot being fired. "What's happening?" Lord Marcus demanded as more reports of failures poured in. "Get those weapons online." Admiral Reed's voice came through their communications again, this time with an edge of steel. "We warned you once. That was more courtesy than you deserved. Now let us show you what Earth is truly capable of." Dr. Walker pressed a single button on her tablet. Around the Earth, space itself seemed to ripple as thousands of hidden satellites emerged from their dimensional pockets. Each one was more advanced than anything the Empire had ever seen. In orbit, Imperial crews watched in horror as their mighty ships were systematically shut down by forces they couldn't understand. Gravity fields shifted, trapping vessels in place. Quantum disruption waves disabled their engines. Dark matter pulses froze their computers. "Impossible," Lord Marcus whispered as his flagship systems went dark. "They're supposed to be primitive. They're supposed to be." "We're supposed to be what?" Admiral Reed's voice was almost gentle. "Helpless. Primitive. Did it never occur to you that we might have chosen to appear that way?" In the command center, screens showed the Imperial fleet hanging helpless in space, their weapons silent, their engines dead. Earth's warning had been simple and clear. Their response to being ignored was equally clear. "Send the secondary message," Admiral Reed ordered. "Let's explain to the Empire exactly what kind of world they try to conquer." The Empire was about to learn that some worlds weren't what they seemed, and Earth had been preparing for this moment for a very, very long time. The Antarctic Command Center hummed with power as Dr. Walker initiated Earth's full defense grid. Across the planet, hidden facilities activated simultaneously. The ground shook as massive doors opened in deserts, mountains, and ocean floors. The time for hiding was over. All systems are now visible to Imperial sensors, she announced, her fingers dancing across her control panel, letting them see exactly what they'd walked into. On the Imperial flagship's bridge, Lord Marcus watched in stunned silence as his tactical displays lit up with thousands of new signatures. Where moments ago their scans had shown a primitive planet with basic orbital technology, now they saw something impossible. "My lord," his science officer's voice shook, "we're detecting technology that shouldn't exist. Energy readings that break every law of physics we know." From beneath the Pacific Ocean, a fleet of Earth ships rose into the sky. They were beautiful in their deadliness, sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around them. Unlike the bulky Imperial ships, these craft moved like living things, powered by technologies the Empire had never imagined. Admiral Reed's voice echoed through every Imperial ship. "Perhaps now would be a good time for a demonstration of why you should have heeded our warning." He nodded to Dr. Walker. She pressed a single button, and Earth's defensive grid came fully online. A web of quantum-linked satellites surrounded the planet, each one more powerful than an entire Imperial battle fleet. "Target the empty space near their command ship," Reed ordered. "Show them what we can do, but don't damage their vessels." Yet, a single satellite turned toward the space next to the Imperial flagship. It fired a beam of concentrated dark matter that opened a controlled dimensional rift. The Empire watched in horror as a portion of space simply ceased to exist, replaced by a perfectly spherical void. "That was just one satellite." Reed's voice was calm, "fired at minimal power. We have thousands more, and that's just our orbital defense grid. Would you like to see what our ships can do?" As if on cue, Earth's fleet took position around the helpless Imperial vessels. Their hulls rippled with energy fields that the Empire's sensors couldn't even begin to understand. Each ship carried weapons that could reduce an Imperial dreadnought to its component atoms. In the command center, Captain Moore monitored the Imperial communications. "They're trying to call for reinforcements," she reported with a slight smile. "But our quantum field is blocking all their signals. They're completely isolated." Dr. Walker brought up a holographic display showing the entire solar system. With another command, she activated Earth's long-range defenses. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations emerged from dimensional pockets. Defense platforms around Mars, weapon arrays in the asteroid belt, and monitoring stations near Jupiter's moons all revealed themselves. 60 years of preparation," she said softly. 60 years of watching, learning, and building. And they never had a clue. On the Imperial flagship, Lord Marcus finally found his voice. "How?" he demanded. "How is this possible? You're supposed to be primitive, barely able to reach your own moon." Admiral Reed's response was transmitted to every Imperial ship. "We chose to appear primitive. We watched your empire expand, saw how you treated primitive worlds. So we hid our true capabilities, wrapped our planet in quantum fields that showed you exactly what you expected to see. We could have revealed ourselves years ago, but we waited. We wanted to see who would try to conquer Earth first." To emphasize his point, one of Earth's ships demonstrated its gravity manipulation technology. It created a localized gravity well that plucked an Imperial scout ship from its position and moved it like a toy, setting it down gently in a new location. "Your entire fleet," Reed continued, "is now inside a quantum containment field. Your weapons are useless. Your engines are offline. Your communication with the Empire is blocked. In short, you are completely at our mercy." In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Walker's screens showed the vital signs of the Imperial crews. Fear radiated from every ship in the fleet as they realized the true situation. They hadn't found a primitive world to conquer. They had found humanity, and humanity had been waiting for them. Lord Marcus stood alone in his flagship's observation deck, watching his mighty fleet drift helplessly in Earth's orbit. His hands trembled slightly as he reviewed the sensor data for the 100th time. Everything he thought he knew about this primitive world had been wrong. "My lord," his first officer approached cautiously, "we've completed our analysis of their technology." He paused, clearly afraid to continue. "It's beyond anything we've ever seen. Their quantum manipulation abilities alone are centuries ahead of ours." In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Walker and Admiral Reed watched the Imperial flagship through their quantum imaging systems. They could see every conversation, every movement, every sign of growing panic among the Imperial forces. "They're finally starting to understand," Dr. Walker said, checking her displays. "Their scientists are attempting to analyze our technology. Should we let them see more?" Admiral Reed nodded. "Show them the Mars base. Let them understand just how thoroughly they've underestimated us." With a few commands, Dr. Walker activated the massive installation on Mars. The red planet's surface shifted as huge sections of it disappeared, revealing a facility larger than any Imperial base ever built. Shipyards, research centers, and defense platforms stretched across half the planet's surface. On the Imperial flagship, alarms blared as their sensors detected the new activation. Lord Marcus watched in horror as the Mars facility powered up, its energy readings off the scale of Imperial measuring devices. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Their level of advancement. They must have had help. Some ancient race must have given them this technology." As if in answer to his words, Admiral Reed's voice filled the bridge again. "You're wrong, Lord Marcus. Every piece of technology you see, we developed ourselves. We watched your empire expand for decades, learned from your mistakes, and built something better." The Admiral's words were punctuated by a demonstration. One of Earth's smaller ships approached an Imperial cruiser. With a pulse of energy that the Empire's sensors couldn't even detect, it temporarily phased the cruiser's hull into another dimension. Then back, leaving the crew unharmed but deeply shaken. "Your empire has grown complacent," Reed continued. "You've conquered so many worlds that you stopped innovating. Stopped thinking. You see a primitive world and assume it's helpless. That was your mistake." In the command center, Captain Moore reported, "Sir, we're detecting attempts by Imperial engineers to adapt their shields to our quantum attacks. They're not even close to understanding the basic principles." Dr. Walker allowed herself a small smile. "They're trying to counter quantum manipulation with standard energy shields. It's like trying to stop a tsunami with a paper fan." Lord Marcus paced his bridge, his confidence shattered. Every attempt to counter Earth's technology had failed. Every scan revealed new layers of advancement that shocked his scientists. The Empire had never encountered anything like this. "We need to warn the Empire," he said finally. "They need to know what we found here." "Your communications are still blocked," Reed's voice replied, showing that Earth was monitoring even their private conversations. "But don't worry. We'll help you send a message soon enough. The right message." To demonstrate their point, Earth's ships began a complex dance around the Imperial fleet. They moved in ways that defied physics as the Empire understood it, leaving trails of quantum energy that formed intricate patterns in space. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Reed asked. "We could have destroyed your fleet the moment you arrived, could have torn your ships apart at the atomic level, but we chose to show you instead, to teach you." In the Antarctic facility, Dr. Walker's screens showed the vital signs of the Imperial crews slowly stabilizing. Fear was being replaced by something else. Awe. "They're starting to understand," she told Reed. "Not just our technology, but why we revealed it this way, why we gave them a warning first." Admiral Reed nodded. "Good, because the next phase will require them to understand exactly what humanity is capable of, and why the Empire needs to completely rethink its approach to first contact." The Empire had come expecting to find sheep. Instead, they had found lions who had been patiently watching them, waiting for this very moment. 1 week after the Empire's failed attempt to conquer Earth, Lord Marcus stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall. This time, he wasn't there to make demands. He was there to sign a treaty, one that would forever change how the Empire dealt with other worlds. Admiral Reed sat across from him, Dr. Walker at his side, as representatives from both Earth and the Empire gathered to witness this historic moment. The terms were simple. Earth would share some of its technological advances with the Empire, but only if they agreed to fundamental changes in their expansion policies. "Before we sign," Reed said, activating a holographic display in the center of the hall, "there's something you need to understand about Earth's history." The display showed a timeline stretching back centuries. "We detected your empire's existence 300 years ago." Lord Marcus's eyes widened. "That's impossible. Your world showed no signs of such capability." Dr. Walker smiled. "That was the point. We watched as you conquered world after world. We saw how you treated those you considered primitive. So we made a choice." She changed the display to show Earth's hidden development timeline. "We hid our progress, developed our technology in secret, and waited." The timeline showed how Earth had systematically hidden its advancements, how they had created the perfect facade of a developing world, while building something far more impressive beneath the surface. "But why?" Lord Marcus asked. "You could have joined the Empire centuries ago, could have helped shape it from within." "Because the Empire needed to learn a lesson," Reed replied. "You needed to understand that appearances can be deceiving, that treating primitive worlds as inferior was a dangerous mistake." In orbit, Earth's fleet now moved freely among the Imperial ships, sharing technology and knowledge. Imperial crews watched in amazement as Earth engineers demonstrated technologies they had never dreamed possible. "Your empire has grown through force," Dr. Walker explained. "Taking what you want because you believe you're superior. We're offering a different path." She brought up new images showing peaceful first contact protocols, cooperative development programs, and mutual defense agreements. Lord Marcus studied the proposals carefully. The Empire would have to change significantly, but the benefits were undeniable. Earth's technology alone would advance Imperial science by centuries. "There are other worlds out there," Reed added, "hiding just like we were. Watching. Waiting. Some of them might not be as gentle in their lessons as we were." He let that sink in. "The galaxy is more complex than your empire realizes." The treaty was comprehensive. The Empire would reform its first contact protocols, establish peaceful cooperation initiatives, and most importantly, never again assume that a seemingly primitive world was truly helpless. "Sign this treaty," Dr. Walker said, "and humanity will help the Empire grow not through conquest, but through cooperation. We'll share our quantum technology, our dimensional physics, our gravity manipulation systems, but only if you prove you can use them wisely." Lord Marcus looked at the document before him. A week ago, he had thought he was conquering a primitive world. Now that same world was dictating terms to the Empire, terms that would fundamentally change how they operated. "The Empire agrees to these terms," he said finally, pressing his palm to the quantum-encoded document. It glowed briefly, recording his acceptance at the genetic level. Admiral Reed signed next, then Dr. Walker. As they did, Earth's quantum network sent the treaty's terms throughout the galaxy. Every Imperial world would know what had happened here, how a supposedly primitive planet had outmaneuvered the mighty Empire. "Welcome to a new era of galactic civilization," Reed said, standing to shake Lord Marcus's hand. "One where we judge worlds not by their apparent level of advancement, but by their potential." As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Walker's tablets showed new data from Earth's deep space network. Other worlds were watching. Other civilizations that, like Earth, had hidden their true nature. Now they saw that they weren't alone. The Empire had sought to conquer Earth. Instead, they had triggered a transformation that would reshape the galaxy. Humanity's warning had been a gift, a chance for the Empire to learn and grow. And somewhere out in the vast expanse of space, other hidden worlds watched and smiled. The time of deception was ending. A new age of true cooperation was about to begin.